God is good, and all the time I always remember him because then he gives me the energy to do the work that is at hand. My colleagues in the profession, all the stakeholders behind me, I'm here with my two deputies, Mr. Kinuthia and Godana. All the 4 PSs are here, and many other stakeholders that have not been able to address you because they are quite sizable. The President, in his wisdom yesterday, directed and ordered that we should convey this message with these stakeholders to you directly. And before I read, I would want to share with you what he was talking about, what he's doing with the children that are around him. He has quite a number of them, running into hundreds. And he also suggested that perhaps it is important for you to know in the various estates, as the children are at home, if there are teachers there, as long as you keep social and physical distancing, nothing stops you from engaging the children. And he even told me a story where some of the children have small farms. They are being taught how to cultivate. So there is so much that the parents and the teachers can do as the children are still with us at home. And those words of wisdom came directly from His Excellency the President. Ladies and gentlemen, on Monday, 6th of July, His Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, on Monday, the 6th of July, 2020, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his wisdom, directed the Ministry of Education, jointly with all stakeholders in the sector, to notify the public on the resumption of the learning date, and the stakeholders are behind me here, all of them. Following this directive, ladies and gentlemen, all stakeholders who had participated in earlier consultations on the reopening of learning institutions have today held yet another meeting at this institution, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and we have discussed the feedback from His Excellency the President and the recommendations. We are happy to inform the country that His Excellency the President accepted the stakeholders' recommendations presented to him yesterday. As a matter of fact, he would have presented them himself to the nation, but again, in his wisdom, he has empowered me on behalf of all the other stakeholders to present this to you. Arising from the consultations and concurrences today, I wish to inform the country that in consultation with the Ministry of Health and in conformity with COVID-19 mitigation measures, the stakeholders set up the minimum reopening of pre-primary, primary, and secondary institutions as follows. 1, reducing physical contact in learning institutions by having fewer learners will have great impact in reducing COVID-19 cases and fatalities associated with the opening of the institutions. 2, schools should only reopen when the daily percentage of confirmed COVID-19 cases have reduced consistently for at least 14 days, which we call in medical terms flattening of the curve, which has just been referred to by the physician who is in charge of this process. C, social and physical distancing is actually the most critical factor in ensuring safety and health of our learners for the reopening of the learning institutions. And I would like to add that His Excellency the President took the children to school through the 100% transition. And to most people, they think 100% transition means you take the people who have passed the exam. But what we actually did is we went to the people and took the children who are not in school to the various places that they should have gone. If you are supposed to be in Form 3, you went to Form 3. If you are supposed to be in Standard 7, you went to Standard 7. So we have the children at school. Hand washing with soap and or use of sanitizers, wearing of masks properly, and monitoring of body temperature. Here again, it's important to remember that you use the gun, not something that will be touching the body like in the past. So we shall be using the gun to ensure safety of learners. The total number of COVID-19 cases in Kenya is rising steadily, and up to yesterday we recorded 8,067. The highest daily number of cases was reported only 3 days ago on the 4th of July and was 389. Ladies and gentlemen, based on this very disturbing trend, stakeholders have shelved the initial proposal to reopen basic education learning institutions in September for Standard 8 and Form 4 candidate classes because of the following reasons. Number one, there will be 2 Form 1 classes in 2021 academic year. The country will experience very severe equity challenges, which may be constitutional in nature, when only 2 basic education classes reopen and transition while all the other children lose the year. Although the 2020 Form 4 cohort will have left, the total number of candidature in Form 4 is 752,000, as compared to approximately 1.2 million in Standard 8. Which would mean then that even if we had the intention of using the space left by Form 4, we would be having a deficit of in excess of 438,000. Therefore, it shall be difficult, in fact not difficult, it will be impossible to achieve social distancing. And even social distancing apart, we shall be unable to have physical classrooms for this huge number. 4, all learners in grade 1 to 4, standards 5 to 7, and Form 1 to 3 in 2020 will remain in the current classes in 2021. Therefore, there will be no KCPE examinations in 2021, in the later part of 2021, because the students in standard 7 and Form 3 it will be practically impossible for them to cover the syllabus of 5 terms within 1 year. 6, the number of teachers required will increase because secondary schools will have a challenge of having enough teachers, especially for the optional subjects, to meet the demand of split classes. In Form 1, there are 11 compulsory subjects, which will necessitate employment of more teachers to handle the Form 1 double intake. 7, the inter-country movement of students in boarding schools will pose a severe challenge, especially for those traveling from Nairobi, Mombasa, and other counties, with high incidence of COVID-19 infection. This will contribute to the spike, leading to the uncontrollability of this disease. And 8, since the infection curve is rising at the moment, as we approach September, I am advised by Mr. Mayo that over 90% of the parents have expressed very strong reservations of sending their children to school until the curve flattens. And Mr. Mayo has branches in every county and in every sub-county. And through the WhatsApp groups, he's able to collect the opinions very quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, faced with this uncertain environment, these stakeholders have resolved to reopen all basic institutions in January. This is based on the assumption that the curve will have flattened, or we shall have known a little bit much more about this virus. Nevertheless, it is important to state here that this decision is not cast in stones. As His Excellency the President says very clearly, that all children are equal and must be treated equally. Should the situation change at any stage, then this committee that is behind me will have an opportunity to look at the situation again and see whether this can be brought forward. The implications of these resolutions are that, one, there shall be no KCPE for the year 2020. Number two, the 2020 Standard 8 and Form 4 cohorts will sit their examinations later in the year of 2021. And number three, the school calendar of this year will be considered lost due to COVID-19. These decisions made on institutions reopening will apply to all children, including those offering international curriculum. And I want to hasten to say that as we continue, because all children, the health of all children, there's no such child in my mind as a doctor, there's no such child as a private child, a public child, and an international child. All children are children once they are in the territory of the Republic of Kenya. And should a peculiar situation arise, I think the government of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has empowered us to continue to interrogate those situations as they arise. And of course, if there is any decision, he shall make the decision. And whether he allows us to communicate it to you again, that will be another issue. To ensure learners are engaged, the Ministry of Education will enhance remote learning, online, distance, and e-learning, and explore other innovative approaches to promote equity. Just like I have said, the President has said, he was talking about estates, but there could be a village. If you have somebody in a village and there's a teacher in the village and there are children, as long as you are observing COVID, there's no reason why you can't assemble the children and teach them as long as you are observing the COVID protocol. Are we together? And the example that he made, how he teaches, he himself teaches some of the children how to dig and create a small farm. If the president can do that, who are you not to do so? Why are you sitting somewhere very high waiting and making a lot of noise? So this can be done by all the teachers and parents, that in addition to the book learning, you actually take your child through the University of Life. Teacher training colleges and TVET institutions will be allowed to reopen from September, subject to very strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols. And you may ask why. These institutions, if they have good managers, can regulate the numbers in their presence according to the courses that the people are doing. Those who are not able to regulate, again, this will be on a case-by-case basis. There are only about 140. Those who are not able to regulate shall remain closed. By regulation, I mean you may decide you are opening for 30% of your children and you recycle, as the universities usually do. The Ministry of Education will in due course issue a comprehensive circular on reopening dates, when the Kenya National Examination Council will issue revised examination timetables, which again may not be cast in stone. Reopening of the universities for face-to-face will be on a case-by-case basis based on approved compliance with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health COVID-19 protocols. Universities, most of them, are doing so and should continue holding virtual learning and graduations for students who have successfully completed their programs and met graduation requirements set by their respective senates and councils. Universities should consider phased reopening. Actually, they must consider phased reopening, because we are going to inspect. Having been a university head for 10 years, I know that they have challenges in the boarding sector, and they must convince us that they have interrogated the students and they have agreed to spread out so that they just have the requisite number who are staying in their place to attain social and physical distancing. All institutions allowed to reopen must comply with COVID-19 regulations or risk reclosure. And you will ask who is going to be inspecting. All of us. Self-regulation is the best, but I can assure you that my whole team here Whether you are in basic, you will go and check whether the university. We are working as a team, and it is one government of one people, one leader, and we are working as a team. We don't have compartments in this government. All decisions that we have made here with stakeholders regarding the opening of learning institutions may change as informed by dynamic reports from the Ministry of Health, prevailing circumstances, and increased knowledge of COVID-19. And ladies and gentlemen, you will allow us not to field any questions this morning. I thank you very much. God bless.